Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Hello, welcome. Kim and Jeanette here, ready to answer your questions about clear blue tiles.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all the buzz. I don't know, did you watch What's New Wednesday yesterday?
No. I was really busy
Jeanette.
working on something you're going to talk about on What's New Wednesday in like 5 or 6 months from now.
Or months, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have to work way ahead of schedule. So by the time Christmas rolls around or Halloween rolls around, we're like, oh yeah, we're so done with that, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Jeanette's a busy gal, but I'm so grateful that she's here with me today to talk about clear blue tile skin.
Absolutely.
What I was going to say is that What's New Wednesday yesterday, I did talk about clear blue tiles, but there are still a lot of questions out there and we want to help with those, all right?
Absolutely.
So that's why we are here. Jeanette is our head digitizer. And so she knows a little something, just a little something about these clear blue tiles, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she represents a really awesome team behind the scenes who've made all of this possible. Yes. And I'm so glad that she can also be here to help answer questions because we know you've got them. So now's the time to ask. Before we go into that, though, Jeanette, why don't you go ahead and give, people an overview of what clear blue tiles is if you have never heard of it before. Awesome. I think maybe you've heard about these tiles of some sort, but what are they? Why do we want them? What do you use them for? Go ahead.
Perfect. So we have background quilting. We hope you've noticed on our website. Yeah. So this is just a different way to use background quilting. So on our website, we have blue and orange and gray designs that you see what it's stitched on. And this is just a different way to use those blue designs. So instead of quilting it as you're doing the block,
we call that first method block by block.
Yes.
Method. And that's what we've been using up to this point. And we still use it.
We do.
In many cases. In fact, let's go ahead and go to this shot right here, Andrew. Back here, this would be considered block by block quilting because we did the quilting in the background as we went, right? Block by block.
Yes.
And Jeanette's team made it possible to do that so that no batting was left in the seams. But this second type of quilting that Jeanette's talking about is called clear blue tiles.
And it's totally different. Yeah. So first you make your entire quilt sandwich first, and then you use the clear blue tiles.
Did we lose you?
We hope. Wait a minute in case. Oh,
there we go.
So this is a little different. You use the clear blue tiles, which they are blue and clear a little bit. That's where they got their name.
Yep.
You use these tiles to help you know where to put the quilting on your quilt sandwich.
Yeah. I'm just looking real quick at an answer that, or a commentary or a testimonial of what some people have said about clear blue tiles, but keep going.
So it starts with the essential set. So you have to start with this one. And so this one comes with the user guide. It has the USB inside of it.
It's got these great instructions. Oh my gosh. Very
much
step-by-step instructions inside there.
Effort went into the instructions.
Yeah.
Just to try and help answer all of your questions. If you have a question, it's probably in here. The answer.
Yeah, we want to give you the best possible experience. And then what you'll also find in the instructions are these QR codes so that if you want to see these instructions now through video, then you can do that as well.
Yeah, the videos are super helpful.
Yeah.
So all of the designs come on the USB for both sets.
Yeah.
So this set has the smaller tiles, and then we have the expansion sets for those bigger hoops.
Yeah.
To be able to use in the same way, they're just bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. So these tiles you're looking at, if you've got like an 8x12 hoop or a 9x14 hoop, this is the set you will also want to add in addition to the essential set. So we call this the expansion set, but it's in addition to the essential set because the essentials are essential. There you go. There you go. Yeah, people have really loved doing this because they wanted the look of traditional quilting, but done on their embroidery machine really easily.
Yes.
And you couldn't ask for more easy ways to do this than through Clear Blue tiles. What's really exciting too is that now people are starting to receive them. And they're already posting on Facebook about their experiences. Did you see the post? I think it was yesterday on the Kimberbellas and Fellas group. And this gal made a pretty, a good size quilt.
She did, and she had it set up on chairs around her machine.
Yeah, so she helped with the weight of the quilt by setting it up on chairs. And she said for her, it was a game changer. I was reading through all the comments, and it just got me so excited. And what's interesting about her in particular, if you're out there, give us a little shout out and say, oh, that was me. And tell us what you thought. But what I read is that she actually has one of the top of the line machines. I won't say the brand, but she has a top of the line machine that has like the camera feature and stuff. And for her, she still felt like it was just easier than ever. And she, sometimes people ask, do I need it with it? If I have a machine that has a camera feature, and for her, she absolutely loved it. Yeah. So there we go. So speaking of the camera feature though, I was asking my sister, Chris, she actually has another top of the line machine that has the camera feature. And I said, okay, Chris, just be honest with me. Would you use Clear Blue tiles if everyone had a camera feature? Because that is being asked all the time. Really great question, right? This is what she said. She said, I like being able to see the quilt as a whole and to know what design files go where. So let's see. I don't know what those design files would necessarily be with a camera. With a camera, I'm only seeing a small area of the quilt at a time. Okay, so if you've got a camera on your machine, you know what she's talking about. You're only seeing like this. But with Clear Blue tiles, she's seeing the whole picture, right? Let's see. I rehoot to know what size file to use where. And while I still love my camera feature and use it often, I find using the tiles is just an added bonus to my precision with the camera. And I can't imagine doing it without. I thought that was pretty good right there, coming from someone who has a camera on their machine. And we're seeing a lot of that. When I went and taught this to a group of ladies a few weeks ago, kind of testing out the waters too on what their reactions were going to be. We had people that had those high-end machines and were still in love with this because they could map out their design and their quilts as they go. And then they just use their camera feature to be even more precise when it came to hooping, right?
Yes.
But also people who have long arm machines, and they're wanting this too. And I wondered about that. I thought, okay, there's a lot of people with, long arm machines out there. And of course you would use, that to its fullest capacity too. But those people, even with long arm machines, saw a need and a desire to have Clear Blue tiles in their, toolbox, so to speak, so that they could also use them for their, smaller projects and such.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a long arm.
Yes, you sure do.
And I would still want the Clear Blue tiles because I don't have like the computer nice part.
Okay.
Because that's an investment that I haven't made yet.
Sure.
And being able to stitch intricate designs like our files are would be really difficult. And to know that I could just do it on my embroidery machine and make the little table topper or small quilt just have that really intricate quilting on it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Would be awesome.
Another great testimonial right there. So what kinds of questions do you guys have? I can't see. Can you see your eyes better than mine? But we do have Maddie here who's going to help us out. So Maddie, what kinds of questions do people have?
So Stacy's asking, how do you tell the design size on your Bernina machine using the USB stick? They all look to be the same name.
Jeanette?
They are kind of hard. So if you're having a hard time, machines pull up in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
So the smaller designs always come up first. You can actually look, if you're having like a super hard time trying to figure out which one, you can pull it up and look at the embroidery felt on the file.
Machine itself. Yeah.
And then that would help you. You could
Mhm.
also like load that into your computer and look at the
That's-
order that it is on the computer. So
Yeah.
you can kind of be like, oh, well, this 5x7 one, that's the fifth one down from the top. And so then on your machine, you would know it was the fifth one down.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say is that you know, if you kind of if you're mapping this out beforehand, right, with these clear blue tiles, and let's show a little demo of doing that too. But if you're mapping this out, you know beforehand, before you even go to that machine, what designs you need. I would probably pull them up on my computer first and only save the design sizes I'm going to use for that particular quilt.
Yeah, especially if
be
you're
another
using
way.
some of the designs from our website.
Yeah.
That makes it way easier to just pull just the ones that you need.
Yeah.
A little bit harder if you're just trying to use them straight off the USB.
Sure. So you've got there are machines out there that will read the whole file name, and so you would see right away, oh yep, that's the 4x10, that's the 2x12, that's this 4x4, and it will show you on the screen. But we realize not every machine out there will show you the full name.
Right.
So if you have a machine that doesn't show the full name, it's okay. You just might want to pull it up on your computer and see it from that, or some of those tips that you just gave are really great too. All right. Hopefully that helps. What other, before we go into other questions, let's show you what we mean by mapping it out. If you are brand new to clear blue tiles, and this is the first time you've heard about it. So as Jeanette mentioned, there's two types of quilting that we like to do here at Kimberbell, and one is that block by block quilting, where you are you have a placement line and a tack down line for batting, and you're doing it just one block at a time, and then that way the batting isn't in the seams, and you sew it all together, and then you create a quilt like you see on this wall hanging up here. But if you want the look of traditional quilting, where you make a quilt sandwich and you have the front, the batting in the middle, and then the backing, and you want to see your quilting on the front just like you see it on the back, then that's where clear blue tiles comes into play. All right. So when we talk about mapping out your designs, this is what we're talking about. Say, for example, we've got how many tiles? There's like 14 tiles.
Depends on if you're talking about borders versus blocks.
There's just a lot of tiles, okay? They're for all these different sizes. And so if you've got, let's see, if I want to do custom quilting, meaning I want maybe this square block to look different in quilting than the block right next to it, and maybe I want the block right next to that to be different, and I want everything to be customized, right? I can use clear blue tiles to do that. But I can also do an all over quilting design and map out my design that way by starting with one tile in the center and quilting it, and then going over to the next one and the next one, and you work your way out. Let's go ahead and go to the front camera. I like to say this, and this is actually on the back of your essentials kit too. 3 steps is all it takes, okay? 3 steps. Looks like we lost signal here. There we go. On the back of this essential set, it outlines it right here, and I think it's on our website as well. But if you think about this as 3 steps, place it, that means you're placing your tile down, okay? Mark it and quilt it. It really is that easy.
It really is.
And so when we map out a design, we might say, you know what, I want to fit, do we have any 8x8 tiles there? Oh, perfect, because I think this is an 8x8 square. Perfect. I could say, I'm going to take my 8x8 tile, I'm going to place it on this area of my quilt. So first step was place. Next step is mark. So then I would take my water-soluble pen. Okay, you could also use like a chalk, a piece of chalk, or any of your favorite marking tools, right? And maybe it's a disappearing pen. And you're just going to mark the crosshairs, just like you see here. See these crosshairs? And then there's an arrow, and that arrow always will match up with the top of my hoop. All right. So when I go to hoop this, I want to make sure that arrow is matching. Oh, and then what I do is I look at what the size, can we get any closer on that? Great. I look at what the size says on my tile. And in this case, this one says, in fact, I'll grab the one that I'm using. Okay, let's do this. This case, it says 8 by 8. I'm going to write in this open window right here. I'm on my fabric. I'm going to write 8 by 8. And you'll see why that's important here in a minute. And you'll do a few other markings, which we won't go into today. But all of those, oh my gosh, video tutorials are online. When I take this off, because now I need to take it to my machine to quilt it, I know that I need to find the 8 by 8 file, because I wrote 8 by 8 here, and I'm going to drop my needle into that center point. I'm going to match up my crosshairs, and then that quilting is going to go exactly within that 8 by 8 parameter. All right. So now here's the cool thing. If you're thinking, well, that's nice if you have a hoop that will fit an 8 by 8, right? In this case, the great things about clear blue tiles is that even if you have a 4 by 4 hoop, the smallest hoop can still do this, and you would never know that you used a small hoop for this, because look what I'm going to do. I could take, do we have a 4 by 4 just as an easy example here? There's a lot of tiles to go through. Okay, over here. We'll just, Jeanette's going to keep looking.
I'll keep looking.
But what I'm saying is that you can take a smaller tile that will fit your hoop size. So again, you could have a 4 by 4 hoop size. You could have a 5 by 7, a 6 by 10, an 8 by 12, a 9 by 14. Oh,
this
there we go.
The 4 by 4
There's
here.
the 4 by 4 there. Let's go ahead and take that out. Yeah.
Grab it.
We'll just grab it. You can do all of this even with a small hoop. Okay. So now I'm taking this 4 by 4 hoop or tile. Excuse me with the terminology. The tile. And I say, but Kim, I only have a 4 by 4 hoop. And I say, wonderful. You can still do this, because look what I'm going to do. I'm going to place it on this area that used to be an 8 by 8. Pretend I never did any quilting on this. All right. I'm just going to say, you know what? This is the area I want to cover, and I'm going to mark it. Okay. I placed it. I mark it. I hoop it with my 4 by 4 hoop, and I stitch right in this area. But the cool thing is because all of these designs have been digitized to the exact same scale, and there's no matching up of end points or beginning points, I can then take this tile. Ooh, the magic of tiles. Boom, put it right next to it, right? And do the same thing. I can place it, I can mark it, I can quilt it. I can then go to this area. I place it, I mark it, I quilt it, I go to this area. And pretty soon I have covered this entire 8 by 8 area with a 4 by 4 hoop. All right. And it will look seamless. These have been specially digitized so that they all work together. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
It's so awesome.
I think maybe explain a little bit more about what we mean when we say that the word escapes me, that they're the same no matter which tile you use. Like
they're the same scale?
Scale.
Okay.
Yes. What does that mean?
Okay. So let's look at these two up close. Because here we're showing, we did one in dark thread. Let's see how close we can get with that one. When I say they're the same scale, this is what I mean. It's the same size. So this, we use the 4 by 4 here to do this block. But then over here, we used an 8 by 8. If this was all the same threads and you didn't, I mean, you wanted it to just look like one overall quilting, the flow of it, you would never be able to tell where you started one and where you ended one because they're all the same scale. So you could certainly do a really good size quilt with a 4x4 hoop. You're going to have a lot of hoopings, but it can be done, is the good news. But if you had a large hoop, like a 9x14, that's just less hoopings, but it's all the same scale. Does that help?
I think so. So like the flowers are the same size. We didn't just take the 8x8 design, that square, and shrink it to 4x4. We redesigned the 4x4 so that when you put them next to each other,
you don't know.
They look very similar in their open space. Yeah. In the size of the elements that are in the quilting.
The leaves are the same size. The flowers all work together at the same size.
Look really good at the same size together. That's what we mean by like they're the same scale. Yeah. So you can mix and match the different sizes of tiles and quilting sizes, but on your quilt, it just flows together
the same
really well.
And that works especially well with a custom or an all over quilting look. But you said something, a phrase I really like. You can mix and match. So with that idea in mind, think about this. You get some exclusive designs in the clear blue tile set that you're not going to find at kimberbell.com. Let's take a look at these. And you get some for borders. You get 2 different types of borders. You get a border loops and border swirls. You get what we call little bitty blocks, and we can talk about that in a minute. But basically, those are little 2x2-inch blocks that have some really fun designs that you can just scatter throughout your quilting. Then you get a special design for winter, spring, summer, and fall. And then you get additional loops and additional swirls. All right, that all kind of flow together. But in addition to those, you could go to the kimberbell.com website. You can find more background quilting designs. And as Jeanette mentioned, you can mix and match designs. So if I want to do all flowers in this 8x8 block, but the next one to its side is a 4x4 block, and I go, ooh, I think I want to do bumblebees. Yes. Then I'll grab the bumblebee design and do that. And then maybe in the next block, I want to do swirls. And maybe in the next block, I do Christmas lights. Well, not in the same quilt. Maybe not in the same quilt. If you want to.
Block of the month,
There you go. The idea is that everything works together in a system. And when you start downloading these designs from Kimberbell, it's like creating your own library of background quilting designs that you can use for anything. And you can use it for the block by block quilting. And if it's on blue, if it has been stitched onto blue fabric, you know that it will also work with clear blue tiles. All right. What other questions do we have?
Can you talk about who the expansion set will work for?
Yes.
Sure. So the expansion set has tiles that are 12. Oh, here, I have
some already open.
Yes. Okay. So this one has tiles that are 12 and 14 inches like tall. In length. So if you have a hoop that is 12 or 14 inches in length, these tiles are the ones that you'd want these tiles. So that when you're doing quilting all over, you want to use your big hoop and quilt in a big area.
Yeah, you want to take advantage of that size of hoop, right?
For sure.
And so to be able to do that easily, you've got now 12-inch lengths and 14-inch lengths, but all different widths. All different widths for different areas. Yeah. Does that help? There we go. Lots of them. What other questions?
When you place those files, when you place those tiles and mark the corner spots, do they butt up next to each other or do the markings overlap?
That's a great question. All right, so let's take a look at this tile. What she's referring to, he or she's referring to, is this. So when I say mark it, there's a few places that you're going to be marking this tile in, okay? Let me pop that out. There we go. You're going to be marking, can we get closer on that? You're going to be marking in the center and the crosshairs. And then, of course, you mark what size it is so that when you go back to your machine, you know what size to pull up. But what this person is asking is, you're also marking the corners. They must know this from previous videos, right? Or maybe they have the set. So there's little blue marks on each corner and each side. You're just going to do a quick little marking right there. So let me do an example here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to put it smack here in the middle. How well can we get this?
Here, like.
Oh, there we go. I like that. It's a little bright. Can we get it? Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay, so very technical here. We're going to put our center dot. We're going to mark our crosshairs with the arrow so we know what way is up. Okay, it's a 6x6 tile, so I'm going to write 6x6 right there. And then you mark the corners right here, just around the edge.
Yeah, and so the lines on the tile are actually on the tile, but we want you to mark
just
on the quilt.
Right. Yeah, you mark on the quilt itself. It does not have a little opening for that. It is just you are marking around. In fact, can we get any closer on that? See where I'm marking? Just right around the corner edge, and see this little tiny blue mark right here that's on the tile? That's just my little note to self to mark that on all those sides. Now, while this may seem tedious at first, it is so fast. You just go boop, 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 done. All right. And then you move on to the next one. And when you do this, I want you to make sound effects because that makes it all better. Boop, 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 boop. Done.
Like your grandchildren over. Okay, make these noises for me while I mark this.
Right? But the question that was asked was, do you line up your next tile right on top of those blue lines, or are you butting up to the side? And the answer would be, you're butting it up to the side, right? So I can now take this tile, and when if I'm mapping out my quilt, right, I'm going to go right next to it. And this is why those corner marks and the side marks are so important, because if I didn't have those, I wouldn't know where to line up my next tile, right? And it might, if I lined it up over here, it's going to be too close and things are going to overlap. So we make these quick little marks and then we butt it up right next to it, not on top,
but next to it.
Just right next to it.
This line, you mark the same place for both sides.
It's basically, yeah, it's basically the same place. Not on top, just right up against it. And then if I marked all that up, let's scroll down. Let's move that camera down to the next step, because I would know where to line up my next tile. That's why those little corner marks and just the little tick marks on each side are so important, because lining up is important. So that works especially well for overall edge to edge type of quilting, right? All right. Hopefully that helps. Next question.
If we are quilting a Kimberbell collection, for example, red, white, and bloom, wouldn't you end up quilting over top of all of the embroidery?
That's a great question. I can answer. You can answer. Okay.
Go
ahead. No. Oh, okay. So this is where the idea that there are two types of quilting that we do at Kimberbell is a perfect way to think about this. One is block by block quilting. Two is traditional quilting with clear blue tiles. Yeah, where you see the front and the back and all of it. I would suggest that if you are doing a quilt like red, white, and bloom, where there's a lot of applique pieces, I would suggest block by block quilting.
It would
right?
be my preference too.
I think so too, because then, yeah, you would have the issue of quilting over all of those appliques. We want the quilting to go underneath the appliques. So in a instance like that, I would use the block by block quilting method. And there are instructions in your download. When you go to download any of those designs, there's instructions on how to do it, and it is really, really easy.
They're even, if you only have the clear blue tiles, they're on the USB here too.
Awesome.
Just the quilting instructions only for block by block method.
Okay.
Are on the USB.
Great to hear. Because even with the clear blue tiles designs that are exclusive to this box, you also get the files for the block by block method too.
You do.
Okay. So hopefully that helps. Now, if I was doing like a pieced quilt like this, maybe some simple appliques and nothing too crazy, then and I want to see the quilting on the front and the back, I would use the clear blue tiles method. Yes. So really you're using both all the time. I'm not going to be like, oh, now I'm going to do away with the block by block method, because I think there's a purpose for that too. I like the idea of having both options at any time for any project. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can you two talk about how many files are included with the clear blue tiles, as well as are there additional quilting designs that come with the expansion pack?
Okay, great questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so all of the embroidery files come in the essential set. There's no additional files that come with the expansion set. It's just the tiles.
Yeah, but you get the sizes.
The sizes come on the essential set. That's why it's essential.
Yeah.
So the number of files, there are so many tiles. You can see like on here, even just in this size, that in the finished block tiles,
you're ranging anywhere from a 2x4 all the way to an 8x10, which I think is about 14.
There's 14 sizes in just the finished block tiles.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right around 12.
12 border tiles in here. So that's how many tiles come in this set. And then the expansion set, I mean, there's a picture. Yeah, they're listed tiles here.
They go all the way from a 2x12, 4x12, 6x12, and then all of those up to 8x14. So
there's
that's
24 total tiles in this one.
Yeah.
So there's an embroidery file to match every single tile.
Yeah.
And then you get the 6 different blocks and the 2 different borders, and there's so many files.
Yeah.
There's so many files on this.
Yeah. Well, and you get them in all the different sizes. So we said there's 372 files, I think, and that means, it doesn't mean designs, it means files. So that means that with the 8-ish designs that come on, that are exclusive, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, and then you've got the bitty blocks, so there's like 14 designs, and those all come in so many different sizes to match the tiles. That's 372 files right there. If you watch yesterday's What's New Wednesday on our Facebook page, I actually pulled up an example of all the file sizes that you get. I just pulled it up on my home embroidery machine so that you could see them. And then I showed how they matched up with the exact tile that also comes in your box. That's why it's a system that just works together so well. All right. Next question.
Okay. If you are quilting just a regular quilt, where do you start? Do you start the top, the bottom, the middle? Where would you start?
It's a great question. And so if you are quilting a regular quilt, you would always want to start in the middle. Okay. If you're doing like the same quilt design, edge to edge all over, well, even if you were doing custom, I would start towards the middle. But you know, you would start in the middle with the biggest tile that your embroidery hoop can handle, right? So let's grab a big tile here just to show, and then let's also grab a small tile. Okay. If I was quilting this quilt, right, with clear blue tiles, I would start in my hoop. I had a really good size hoop, big size hoop. I would start with the largest tile that my hoop could handle. And I put it right there, smack in the middle. There's fabric back here. There's fabric all around. But I'm starting in the middle. I've placed it. I mark it. Then I say I quilt it. But I would actually rather place it and mark the whole thing first and then go and quilt all of it at the same time. So I would place it and mark it. Right? All those corners. And then because I have also written in the size there, I know that I'm going to pull up the 8x14 file. Then I'm going to move it over to the next spot that's right next to it, because I know where my next one can be butted up against. It's almost as if you had things butted up like this, but you know, you don't have 100 different tiles of the same size to do it. So that's why you mark it, right, with those corners. And then I can then bring it up, mark it again, bring it up, mark it again. Now, eventually what's going to happen, let's go ahead and go to the front camera, eventually you're going to get to the point where if you're in that center spot and you're using the largest file that you have or tile that you can do, you work your way out, and you can imagine that eventually as you get closer to the edge, there's less fabric to work with, right? And so you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to use another big tile for this little sliver of fabric that's left over. Nope. That's the beauty of tiles, you guys, is because I could then take, in this case, it's a 2x14. I could put that over there and fill in that gap that remains on my quilt and then quilt it. And again, because they're all the same scale, it just works. You don't know where one ended and one began. It's awesome.
And the best part about that too is you didn't have to do any math.
That is true. No math.
No math.
No math. No lining up points. No nothing. It's just if the tile fits there, that is where the tile's going to stitch. The file's going to stitch. You know what I'm talking about, right? But again, I'm starting with the largest size I have. If I've got a small hoop, I'm starting with the largest size I have of a hoop, and it might be a 4x4, it might be a 5x7, it doesn't matter. You use the tile you can, and you do the same thing. You start in the middle, you mark it, then you pick it up, and you mark the next spot, and you pick it up, and you mark the next spot, and you can do that one after the other, working your way out. Eventually, if you get to an area where it's just like, I might as well just use a smaller tile right there, right? Then certainly do that. The other thing is that I didn't mention yet today, but I think I've mentioned it before. There's no stabilizer that you have to use for this. So before you think, oh my gosh, to do a big quilt, it's going to require all this stabilizer. Nope. We have enough stabilization. Do we have the packet here?
Project batting.
Our project batting. We don't have it here, but it's in a bag. It's on a roll, and it's got a green label around it. Take a look at that the quilt shops sell it. It's the Kimberbell project batting. Between the back layer of fabric, the next layer, which is the project batting, and your quilt top, there is enough stabilization that you don't need additional stabilizer. So it makes it really, really simple.
It does. And then you might run into the problem, like if your back fabric isn't quite big enough, you just sew on a strip of extra fabric.
Yeah.
Have some extra muslin sitting around.
Yeah.
Sew it on the edge. And if you stitch on it, that's totally fine. And you just whack it off when you're done.
Well, that's the thing. You can stitch over, say you get to that edge part and you're like, well, there's not a tile that's not going to go over the edge, right?
Right.
It's okay because it's all going to be trimmed up to size afterwards. So just let it roll off the side, stitch off the side, and you'll be good to go. Yeah. Next question. These are great.
We have a few questions about when to remove the blue markings.
Okay.
That at the end and how you would do it, what that looks like.
Okay. Well, they're water soluble pens.
They are.
Right? So my suggestion would be just to spray them at the end with a spray bottle.
I spray mine too.
You spray yours too?
Yeah.
You could certainly soak it too. Depending on maybe the fabrics you're using or something, there you might think, gosh, this isn't coming out. But we've tested these on all fabrics and it does come out. So you may need to soak it a little bit. Or for me, I found success just by spraying it with some water.
Yeah, and if you're making a snuggly quilt, you know how like after you wash it, it just gets that
a little more crinkly. Yeah.
Just bind it and throw it in the wash with cold water.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd all come out then too.
Okay. So, there you go. Yep. Or you could use, we include 2 water-soluble pens in your essentials set. But you could certainly use, some type of disappearing ink pen. I would always pre-test it on your fabric first. You could use chalk
on dark fabrics.
On dark fabrics, yeah. There's a lot of different methods for marking. So, yeah. That's all the questions? All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us today. That was another fun day.
It was.
You can find these now, both sets, at your favorite quilt shop, whether that be in a store or online. These are being sold now, and they are a game changer. for people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were skeptical of them first. In fact, my friend Mike Johns, I know a lot of you know Mike Johns, and he did a review on these. And he's one that also was like, I was kind of skeptical before because he has a high-end machine and he didn't know if this would be something that he would utilize. He loves them. He absolutely loves them. And so he thinks in conjunction with, you know, his camera feature and such, that this is just a great way to go. Again, you can visually map everything out first, then take it to your embroidery machine and stitch your designs out. So we're getting great reviews. So grateful for that. If you've had, you know, if you have questions, if you have, you know, let us know your experiences with them. Share that with us on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear and we'd love to help if there are, you know, any problems that you're coming into, you know, coming into. So we want to be sure and help for sure. All right. Okay. Well, I think that's all, everyone. Again, check it out on the Kimberbell Facebook page. You go to products or new product tools. That's what you want to go to. Go to products, then tools, then go to Clear Blue Tiles. Okay. From there, if you click on, there's a button right above a video of me talking about Clear Blue Tiles. There's a button that will say something about additional videos. You will find so many tutorials right there on how to use these, and they really work right in line with the book itself. Oh, here we go. Andrew's pulling this up. This is on the Kimberbell website. And here we go. Here we go. In just one moment. I want to show you how easy this is to get to. All right. So there is the tools. So click on Clear Blue Tiles Essential Set. You'll see the expansion set there as well. There you'll have additional pictures, but go ahead and click on that blue button there. Andrew, there we go. And there you'll find, if you'll scroll down, there it will say right above that video of me frozen in time, it'll say click here for the full video library. And there you go. You're going to see exactly how to use these and how easy it really is. So there you go. And we know a lot of a lot of quilt shops out there are doing online classes and in-store classes, and they will go into their details and their tips and tricks for making these work for you and be able to help answer questions in real time. Please support those shops that are also doing those types of tutorials. All right. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.